supposed to. Unfortunately, the results of the first map are going to be cancelled because of the streaming without the delay. That all I can say is I feel really bad that that happened. But as my co-caster Penguin said, there is a bright side to it. We get to see more games, right?
Yep, more League of Legends, and I'm still here. We're still having fun. It's going to be a good time. And yes, it is a very unfortunate situation, but we can only press on, do our due diligence, and make sure we don't happen again. So we got the 3-minute delay on. We got some more matches to kind of happen right now. So I'm still excited.
Yep, yeah, I'm definitely excited, and I mean, I feel bad for the Unicorns. They're gonna have to win once again to get the 1-0 score that they deserved, because the first win was very decisive. They basically did everything that they wanted, right? And Anasik was everywhere in the early game, and they got a lot of advantage from his ganks, from his objective control. But unfortunately, unfortunately for Unicorns of Love, they have to start over. I wonder if they have to do a redraft or not.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out. But either way, like, I think we can take some positives for the side of Unicorns of Love. Like, yes, it's annoying, but you're in a best of 5. You're going to have to play more games anyway. It's not as if this was a best of 1. So they're mentally prepared for this. They're mentally set up for all this kind of setup. And I don't doubt in my head that this was, taken on the chin of this will be fine. We can work this out. And, they definitely can make this look a lot better for themselves going forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, they've shown us that they know how to beat RoX. They know what they're doing. They know how to perform. And I mean, it wasn't like their draft was full of surprises, except maybe for Malphite top, right? This is not something that
Malphite top was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, and especially this is not basically the Triforce factor. It's just the Malphite factor, because in team fights you can just go with your R on like immobile carries, and you can set up the fights with that, and they used it quite efficiently. But I have to say that even in the lane, yeah, I mean, he struggled in the very beginning, but this is not something. I mean, this is something that you would expect from a Malphite against Set, right? This is this is not something. There are not many melee matchups that can win against Set early on, even the champions that outscale him. So, and except for that, he was pretty much always there where he needed to be, and all the team fights later on were basically beginning with his ulti, and he made a TP play. Like in the bot side, which was not as impressive, but still, like Malphite was utilized very efficiently. They got the lead. Azir from Nomans was amazing, and yeah, so it was a very decisive victory. There was pretty much nothing RoX could do. I don't want to BM RoX or say that they were too weak, but it didn't feel like they were on the right foot,
Absolutely, and it did feel a little like they were missing something. I don't know exactly what, but it just felt like something was missing from the side of RoX, and it's that level of play that in a best of 5 that this kind of thing comes out, and it really does set themselves up to see who is actually ready for a best of 5. And again, we do apologize for all this kind of setups, but RoX need to try something different, in my opinion. They need to go for something that will effectively help them out with this kind of setup, because otherwise it's just going to be a very quick 3-0. Because like I said, that was a 26.5-minute win. That was dominating from UOL.
Yeah, I feel like RoX. I mean, RoX can be grateful for for this unfortunate event that we had, because they can try to redo the first game. And in the first game, I didn't quite see what their game plan was, especially in the early stages of the game, because I mean, we have a chameleon in our roster of champions in League of Legends. It's Nico, right, who can change her colors and everything. But I feel like, and this is just a joke, don't take it too seriously, I feel like the chameleon in this game was 4 on his Lee Sin, because we didn't see him that much. He
was invisible, realistically. He looked kind of lost. He didn't really know exactly where he was supposed to be. He was kind of always reacting in a very slow manner to what the side of Unicorns of Love were putting out there, and that's a scary prospect as well, because you do not want to be in a situation where you're not able to kind of make these plays happen for your team. And right now, for RoX, they need to kind of come together. There were some shining lights that they had for themselves as well. There was some very good plays for them overall, but at the end of the day, you can't just let this up, for chance. Effectively, you have to kind of go for this, more proactive approach in League of Legends. We look at the side of LPL teams, LCK team. Well, maybe not so much LCK, but LEC teams, definitely the two best regions in the world. Quote between the in terms of major regions, they are proactive teams. G2. Fun plus Phoenix, IG, Top Esports, these are all very proactive teams that will end up making moves against you. You can't just sit back, relax, and hope everything works out.
I mean, I would say that LCK does that too, just they do it in a very slow manner where they prefer not to take additional risks. I'm an LCK fan over here, even though I respect LPL a lot. My favorite teams are from LCK. I just love the macro-oriented games, when you just want to get the objectives and you don't fight if you don't have to. Which is probably not the funniest of experiences if you watch the league, but still. Anyway, we live in the meta where you have to be proactive, because if you are not, then you just slowly lose the objectives, and then slowly but surely you get pushed off the rift, because with 2 heralds, with let's say 3 dragons, immediately you're in a situation where enemy team just took all the tier 1 turrets and they are threatening the dragon soul, and you have to contest both the dragons and the Nashor, because you cannot just, if you just go for the dragon, they get the Nashor themselves, and you don't get anything from it because that's your first dragon, and so they can continue the pressure. So you kind of have to be proactive, and this is the problem with Four's behavior on the map in the first game, the one that got cancelled, because he only showed himself in the mid lane, where we have the Corki versus Azir. Realistically, what do you do there when you are playing with the Corki?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Corki versus an Azir, and it is one of those things that I always find very curious about these kind of matchups, because it is very, very difficult for us to kind of decide whether or not one team is better than the other when something like an Corki and Azir is put into the game, because it is just a handshake. It is very much we know we're not going to, do anything for a while, but the Azir was fantastic for Nomanz. He did an amazing work. He was 5-0-0. I think it was 20 minutes or something like that. He was huge. And I want to see that coming in again from the side of Unicorns of Love. I want to see them looking towards that mid game, looking towards that kind of play, and really pushing themselves towards that, kind of best of 5 series, looking to really punish RoX again.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. Yeah. Wait a second.
You're getting super secret information?
Yep. Okay, so
stand by. Super secret information coming in.
Super secret information coming in, guys. Even though technically my stream was the reason for this unfortunate event, that is not my fault, and I'm not going to take the blame for that. I mean, I feel bad that happened, but since I was given basically the instructions how to stream from the Russian Riot, they didn't tell me about the delay. I didn't know. I thought that the stream they were giving me is already with a delay, and unfortunately, that's not my job to know that. The producer should have told me. It's not like I was actively trying to ruin the finals experience for everyone. I feel bad for that, but that's not my fault. That's it. I don't think anybody from both teams were using that to get advantages for them. I'm pretty sure that both of those teams are basically filled with competitive integrity, but according to the rules, if such a stream was happening, the results should be cancelled. Yep. Once again, I feel bad, but I'm not gonna take the entire blame there. Sorry. we're gonna have the game starting soon enough. Soon enough. But yeah, sorry for that. Anyway. So what are your expectations from the rematch? Do you think who's gonna make the first move of adapting and changing the style?
I think it
Oh,
could be a. I was gonna say we're gonna jump
yeah.
straight back in, but I do believe we are gonna see RoX look for something. I want to see RoX look for something slightly different because, like we said, that last game was just lackluster. It didn't really give a lot in terms of what we want to see from a team that's supposed to be better than the UOL. Like I said, they won the tiebreaker. They both won against each other once in the regular season. It was the RoX that came out in the tiebreaker. So we're gonna see pretty much identical bans coming out here. I'm pretty happy with this, if I'm being totally honest, just to kind of, make sure nobody gets what their comfort is. But at the same time, this is going to be a very different draft coming out from RoX, and I wanted to see it being a different
Yeah, I feel like the draft in the first game was not exactly the top of the line draft. I mean, there was some problem with a bit of too much AP, and whenever you have this problem of damage balance in your team comp, usually it means that uh, you have to win early on, right? You have to get advantages from the laning phase and try to roll with it, because then the drafting doesn't really matter, because even if you get outscaled, if you have 10k gold advantage, it means it doesn't mean anything unless you let the game go for too long. But it's up to you if you have the lead. So okay, yeah, we have pretty much the same bans as it looks like: Kalista, Renekton, and Karthus from RoX. And actually, you all are the ones that change up a bit their drafting procedure, and they ban away Irelia, Akali, and Pantheon.
Yeah, we're going to see the Karthus banned away. We saw the Aurelia banned in the second phase for UOL. So maybe looking towards getting something towards those solo lanes again. Like we said, UOL, where, of course, the beneficiaries of a lot of the early game pressure that came out in the last game. So I'm curious to see exactly how this kind of setup goes for them now that we're coming into game 2. But at the same time, it's going to be very, very curious to see how RoX come in as well, as we're looking towards more of a, I suppose, standard draft. But the Senna being taken away from UOL, they will not be getting that for Gadget.
Yeah, so they decided to take it away. Last time, what did they first pick? It was Set.
It was the Set, yes.
So I'm guessing Unicorns of Love are gonna take Set for them, or they don't need it, because they go for Trundle once again. Trundle is very good right now in the meta. I mean, he has his counter picks, but they're kind of situational, I would say. Like, his most uncomfortable matchups are with guys like Kindred, Graves, and if you go for that, it means that you have a carry jungler, and it kind of shifts up the draft around it, right? Because usually you have like a bulky kind of champion in the jungle who can be in the front line or be the ones like starting the fights, something like Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Trundle, Olaf, and with a carry in the jungle, you kind of play differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see the Trundle back locked in again. And this isn't a surprise, realistically, from the side of UOL. Did very, very well. The Ornn locked in as well. Still get the set for RoX. So didn't do an amazing job, if I'm being totally honest, with the set in the top lane last time. For picking up Lee Sin again as well is something that I'm not super confident about, purely from the fact that it is I suppose so much of a comfort, but didn't look great in game 1. So I want to see him do something different with this.
At least in terms of his pathing, right? He should show up on different lanes at least a bit more than he did last game. I mean,
we can only hope.
Yeah, we and all the RoX fans and RoX players can only hope that this time Lee Sin is going to be active on the map, like, all the time, at least during the laning phase. Right now, even though it doesn't seem like he's gonna have a lot of lanes where he can apply pressure, because already there is an Ornn in enemy team. Like, even if you gank him, even if you give some advantage to Seth, Ornn doesn't really care.
Yeah, Straight up, Orin doesn't really give that much of a damn. You've got the ornaments, of course, which you've got the upgrade, which gives you an extra roughly 1,000 gold per person on pretty much every single thing. So it's very, very helpful in that. But we are obviously into ban phase number 2. You got the Rumble band away again, which is of course going to be a very, very big setup for the side of RoX in terms of this game. Kassadin being banned away now as well. And again, not really deviating from the first side of bans. The only difference is we're going to see RoX with Senna versus UOL, who had it in the first game.
Yeah, but this time UOL get another very, very strong ADC in this current meta. Varus is actually like one of the best because he's so flexible. He has the 2 different types of let's say build that exist in on the Summoner's Rift, which is the poke Varus and the hyper carry Varus, and basically with him as an early pick you can just decide which one you need more. Against Senna, usually I would say that the lethality Varus works really well because he can apply a lot of pressure in lane. And it's funny that Unicorns of Love went for like let's say top/mid lane bans, because usually I would expect them to ban away something like a Tahm Kench, maybe, just to get rid of the Senna saving champions.
Yeah, they could look for something like that. I do think that it is also a setup of they want to make sure that they can just take it for themselves, as the Varus Tahm Kench, as we see it locked in, is one of those very, very powerful bot lanes that you just can't really do much about. So I like this kind of adaptation from the side of UOL, knowing they don't have to ban it because they can take it for themselves. However, RoX have got plenty of options for that support for Lexus as they look to try and get that fasting Senna going.
Actually, I would love to see something like a range, like something like an Ezreal or Caitlyn being locked in, just to try to apply a lot of pressure in response. Because whenever you get Tahm Kench, you open yourself up to being pushed around in the bot lane. And usually, I mean, maybe Varus Tahm Kench is a bit stronger than the usual Tahm Kench combinations, but this time it's not going to be the case. And actually, I didn't think about it. Just Unicorns of Love can just take away the Kench. They have the Varus. He synergizes with Kench really well, and also Varus is also an immobile carry that kind of needs the saving, and I think it works well for Unicorns of Love. They get a very strong bot lane, and now they can counterpick the mid lane, which I feel like is going to be just the Corki. You can go Corki, and then you can go for lethality Varus because you already have the hyper carry. What do you think about that?
Yep, you could go with the Corki, the lethality Varus. You could also go with just considering looking at the amount of health bars you're going to have to burn through. I would like to see the on-hit kind of Quinzu's Rage Blade and the Bork Varus personally, but both can work. Both can just kind of shred through them. And again, we are going to see pretty similar drafts from game 1, except no Malphite this time. It is going to be the Ornn that comes out. And overall, I think that UOL will be pretty happy with the draft they've gotten. And I think RoX will be happy knowing that they've got something different to come into game 2 with. Well, technically game 1.
Yeah, technically game 1, unfortunately, once again. Feel really bad, but there is nothing we can do about it, and the same goes for players. I hope that they have the mental fortitude to just power through and get another win. So in terms of drafts, I actually would say that I still like Unicorns of Love draft more, just because they have a bulkier front line, and they have, I would say, stronger carries when it comes to like late game. Because, I mean, there is only one true tank in RoX's setup, and this is the Nautilus. And he's going to have a lot of defensive stats just because, just because it's the Nautilus carry, kind of, right? It's the fasting Senna. So he's going to have all the defensive items such as Sunfire Cape and basically all that jazz with pretty much Stone Plate as the cherry on top of any tank build. But this one true tank is going to get denied by the Trundle, right? Trundle uses the Subjugate and immediately enemy team loses one tank and you get one tank. So tankier frontline, 2 hyper carries if Varus does end up going for the hyper carry build. And it's pretty much the classic teamfight setup, right? You have the front-to-back team fighting with huge front line and with 2 carries that can shred through almost anyone. I feel like Unicorns of Love have a very, very safe draft that should just roll over. I mean, if in the early game they don't lose too much. But that depends entirely on 4.
That is exactly it. It depends on a lot of different things. And of course, this is where we kind of draw the line, I suppose, or not draw the line, but definitely look towards how both sides want to play this game. Because right now you've got a fantastic front-to-back team fight, like you said, for UOL, but it's not too bad from the side of RoX either. They are relying a lot on Flatty and make sure that he is the one that kind of, is putting out that long-form DPS. But, ladies and gentlemen, we will delay no longer. We are on to the Rift for Game 1 repeat of RoX versus UOL. This time, RoX looking for a slightly different change of pace and overall possibly looking for a change of result. But I gotta say, last game, UOL were so dominating. I don't really see much changing.
Yeah, I mean, that depends on the early game, right? If RoX came into this game with a special idea of how they want to play in the early stages of the game, because they do have some setup of potential early gameplays. With Lee Sin is probably like one of the best early ganking champions, and usually he should be the first one to get to lanes when it comes to like early ganks compared to Trundle. And you have the lanes where you actually have the playmaking potential. For example, even in the mid lane, which is still a very, very safe matchup for both the carries, I would say that having Azir creates some possibility of a play compared to Corki. Right, you have the Shurima Shuffle with the Emperor's Divide, which, I mean, if you catch the Corki off guard, you can make something happen there. And you have Nautilus in the bot side, which is once again one of the most controlling supports that there is. And Set in top lane, who is also very good when it comes to like supporting your jungler in an aggressive play. You have a lot of CC and you have the damage, which is good. Let's see how 4 actually utilizes his teammates, right?
I want to see exactly where 4 paths right now, because like we said, in the first game, it was not a very good setup in terms of how he looked for any kind of advantages. It didn't really give his team many options for them to kind of go for, but there is an invade in that blue side jungle. We can see 4 now looking as if he might actually have an opportunity to go toe-to-toe with the Trundle. I don't know if he wants this just yet, though. The smite goes in. Only one person gets that. That was from 4. Now they're going to try and trade it back. They're going to be this flash in from Seth. Flash away from the drop, but it's not going to be enough. Azir picks up first blood, and that's going to be Summoner's Blown and a better start for RoX in this first game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a first blood, which is already an improvement. If we compare it to the last game, I mean, the one that was cancelled. And I feel like this is not the invade that you want to go for if you're Trundle. I mean, you are stronger in a 1v1, but are you sure that you can get the lane priorities to go for such an invade? Because this is a way more important thing than even the dual component when it comes to jungling, because if you invade, usually what happens is that the enemy laners are just closer to you than your laners are, and he gets punished for that. I mean, he wastes flash, he gets denied the possibility to take away the blue buff, and also he gives red buff to Flatty, which also makes the lane harder for Nomans. So, kind of feel like Unicorns of Love are not going to be happy with the way this game started.
Well, they're not going to be happy, but unfortunately for them, that is just unfortunately the way the cookie crumbles. Won't be too bad, though, as they see a pretty decent start for the Trundle in the top side. So as you can see here, just a replay here. And like you said, just not having the priority in either of his lanes means that the RoX, are able to rotate up just a lot quicker and able to try and get that kill a lot faster.
Yeah, and I have to praise also Dripulia, who used the Eon set really, really well. He pulled off a stun. It was actually really close because Ananesic was like one auto away from killing 4, which would make this trade 1-for-1. Still not the best of ideas, but at least something, I would say.
So 4 finds himself a Trundle, but I don't know if he really wants this fight. Like you said, this is a 1v1, and the rotation, this is a mirror on the opposite side of this one. Goes straight over to Gaju, gets himself a blue buff. That is just a mirror of what just happened at top side. No priority in the lanes, and the jungler who starts the initiation gets caught.
I mean, this is how you repay your debts, right? This is exactly how you do that, and I don't understand why would 4 want to go for this invade. First of all, from the side of Ananasic, he has at least a stronger dueler when it comes to 1v1. From the side of 4, that was just weird.
Yeah, no flash here for Flatty, so he needs to be very, very careful. A hell of a lot of damage going down on top of him. 4 will land himself on the Q. Sonic Wave goes in. Will he be able to try and trade this one back? I'm not entirely sure if he has the damage. He doesn't. And now he has to back away. So straight away, we're seeing UOL going toe-to-toe with RoX at the moment. And RoX trying to bite back just as hard.
I have to say I enjoy the things that are happening right now on the Summoner's Rift, because both teams are trying to play aggressively and both teams are replying to the aggression of the enemy team, because we saw 2 invades, now we saw the first gank with a counter gank from 4, which ended up being a bit of a bloodless exchange. Nobody died, unfortunately, for us and for our bloodthirsty audience. Still though, 4 does have some advantage in terms of farming, right? He is level 4 now, which is kind of funny since his nickname is 4. It's funny that he never plays Jhin. I know that Jhin jungle is not probably the brightest of ideas, but still, I mean, 4 Jhin.
It would definitely suit up with his name, but we can now see that the bot lane of RoX trying to back themselves away, as they know that Santos and Gadget have got the priority. Lexus does stay here, though, as the wave is starting to crash. This could be detrimental for him. They're just going to jump straight on top of him. Tongue Lash lands. Can they get to devour onto him? Oh, nice pillar! And that is going to be a dead Nautilus. Lexus, what are you doing, man? There's just no need for you to be there, and Gadget gets another kill gifted over to him.
I would say that was greed. I would say that was greed for the minions. I mean, you wanted to freeze that huge wave and you get punished for that. And once again, as Ananasic did already, he blocks the Nautilus anchor with his pillar, which is, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's amazing, it's just the basic mechanics of the game, but I would say that it's it's a standard mechanic that when it happens the pro scene constantly, I would say that it's still something to praise the player for. And Ananasic pretty much I would say Ananasic just by himself creates the opportunity, because it was Santos who started licking everything off the Nautilus helm, but still, that's the second kill, and Unicorns of Love, even though they're still losing in terms of gold, but losing just a little bit, they get the second kill for the Varus. And by the way, that's the lethality Varus, as I said in the draft, and I think that's good. I think that's good, because you want to be able to apply pressure for the backline.
The backline. Not going to be hit up by that hook there. Does Valkyrie himself away, so he's going to be doing just fine. 4 people bot as 4 joins in the party. And again, more and more pressure, but this time we can see RoX, they're moving towards this Rift Herald. They are giving up a dragon, potentially, for power now versus power later. That's the general trade we see when people go for this Rift Herald versus dragon trade. I'm
not sure that Unicorns of Love are going to accept the trade. Maybe they will try to fight for the Herald, which is I'm not sure it is the best option, especially now that the Herald is already gone.
Yeah, it's gone, but the fight is still there. There's the Orn Horn. It will stop the Nautilus from getting away, but he has got a flash and will get him out scot-free. So Rift Herald taken. No objective taken for the side of UOL, but you can see that everyone's roaming in towards this mid lane. It looks like they're just going to try and get some plates.
Or maybe they'll just go for the dragon, because I mean, it's a bit of a late trade, but it's still a trade for objectives. And as you said, exactly, the dragons and versus a herald, it's basically like an investment versus getting the money now, right? You get the herald, you can immediately turn it into gold, you can immediately turn it into a couple of plates, or maybe even first turret if you set it up properly. But if you get the dragon, you can hope for getting more and more dragons and actually get the dragon soul, which outscales the 30, or I mean the 300 gold that you can get from 2 plates, or even the 1,000 gold that you can get from the first turret, which is doesn't look. I mean, it doesn't look like they're gonna get the first turret easily, because this time around, all the turrets are fine for Unicorns of Love. They haven't lost a single plate yet. And we know that to get the first turret with a herald, you kind of have to destroy the first 2.5 plates yourself. Are you there?
Oh, I am.
Yeah,
I think
oh.
I dropped off for a very, very small moment there.
Okay. You got me scared there.
Don't worry, I was. You cut off mid-sentence, but I kind of understood exactly what you're saying. But now, let's have a look at the map. We're up to 10 minutes on the game. You're looking at a Corki with a Cull. You've got the Bilgewater Cutlass building up into that board for your top laner on set. However, as I said, Boss is on this Ornn. And right now, where do Unicorns of Love want to attack? Where do they want to look to try and gain their advantages towards this mid-game?
I feel like they should be playing around their Varus right now, because it's a lethality Varus against a team that doesn't have any armor yet. And that's a lethality Varus with one item. He has a very strong power spike. Also, he has the ability to force engages with the Chain of Corruption. So I would say normally, especially when Boss has the TP, you can try to make a play bot lane. But right now, Boss has the Ignite from his Summoner Spellbook, so I would say that you want to wait this out and then try to make a play on the bot lane. We see that Ananasik and 4 are both next to like the bottom side of the map. I mean, exactly in the bottom side of the map, but nobody is forcing anything yet. And from the side of RoX, ooh, that was a Chain of Corruption. A bit corrupted.
That was a Chain of Corruption. Unfortunately, did not gain anything for the side of UOL, but it's a sign of intent, you know. It's not about hitting all your shots, but sending a message. And right now, just throwing out this poke, throwing out these piercing arrows to really just keep RoX away from this bot side, from getting them any kind of an advantage. And 4 is here, just looking between the lanes. Needs to put this Riftail down in the next 2 minutes, otherwise he's going to lose himself some pretty easy plate money.
Yeah, and also the Herald is kind of expiring, right? It's like less than a minute left. So you kind of have to use it for plates right now. There is no way you set it up to get the turret, because there is no way. I mean, you have to win a straight up skirmish like 3v3 to be able to get the turret. But I mean, turning Herald into at least gold from plates is still better than nothing. And I would expect 4 to show up at least in some lane. I don't know, maybe mid lane if he's next to it. I mean, the Herald is it's gonna expire in like 2 seconds. Oh, at least he summoned it, yeah.
Yeah, he has summoned it, so he's just going to chuck it in. But again, it's just seeing what they're going to do for bot side. Trundle is here. They did not spot him off, so they're just going to get some plates in mid lane and look to push it in. He's now shown himself and keeps pushing himself forward, but no real kind of engage coming in. As I say about the gauge, TP comes out. They do get the Devour down onto the Gadget. He now backs away. Flatty is here, 4 off to the back side. There is a TP coming in as well. Flatty takes a huge chunk. That's from those Blighted Quivers stacking up when you land that Chain of Corruption. He has to back himself away. Overall, only really plates gained for RoX. Now they need to find themselves in a pretty poor situation as Lexi, no flash, nowhere to go. And I feel like we're just watching a replay, because this happened the exact same time before.
Yeah, and it's the exact same position in the exact same scenario. Unfortunately, Lexus dies, and now Unicorns of Love kind of have the position to get the plates for themselves, unless 4 creates something here. But it doesn't look like it.
Yep, don't think he can. And unfortunately for the side of RoX, they are just seeing Noman's just slowly pushing into that mid lane. So those 2 plates they gained into that mid side is just unfortunately nullified right there. And a great little kind of disengage or disengage, I suppose is the only word I can use, from the side of UOL, means they don't even get caught out trying to hard push this tower. So overall, just advantages across the board from UOL.
Yeah, I really like the reaction from Gadget when he used his ulti immediately onto Azir, who was teleporting in, and you see the damage that the Lethality Varus can put out, just like ulti and then hit your Q with the W pressed already on, and immediately he chunks down Azir so hard that Flatty is no longer he is no longer available for the fight. He has to disengage, and it basically means that Unicorns of Love can get the plates for themselves, and they equalize the gold lead that could have happened for RoX when they used the Herald. So basically, RoX didn't use the Herald that they got. I mean, I always say that the first Herald is the most important objective of the game, because it gives you the starting advantage that you can grow then. But if you use it like this, only for 2 plates, I'm not sure that this is the way RoX wanted to utilize this Herald, like ideally, I would say.
Well, it's not all doom and gloom for them. They are only 1,500 gold behind. They've got themselves a pretty decent CS lead in that top side. But like you said, 3-0-0 on the Gadget. He is getting very big, very, very fast. And we can already start to see 1 or 2 items. Chain of Corruption does land for, trying to get himself out, but will not miss out on that last rocket. As I speak of rockets, there's a big old L being spelt out by Nomads as the call of the Forge God comes across the entire team. They're now all peppered in. There's the second Rift Herald drop, this time by the side of UOL. Flatty, you have got flash, but you don't really want to have to use it right now. They are going to be able to break down this mid lane turret, and UOL taking control in this game.
Yep, and very good play from them, especially from the Gadget. I mean, this is how you want to utilize the lethality Varus. You want to utilize him aggressively. You want to be landing those ultimates to actually like catch someone off guard.
Oh no, that was very, very close to being another quick kill for the side of UOL. Good flash though from the Senna, means they're able to keep themselves relatively healthy and on the map. But now we're at a moment where you've got a gold lead. It's now ballooned to over 3,000 for the side of the UOL. You've got 2 dragons. There's another one coming up, and I'd say in about 3 minutes' time. You have to fight that one if you're the side of RoX. You don't really have an option, because I still think that the scaling is very much a 50-50, you know, kind of setup. But you still got to get there. You got to get these 0-3 items before you can even talk about scaling.
I mean, this scaling doesn't really matter if you're losing the game by, like, let's say 5k gold around 20 minutes, and I would say that 3k gold around 15 minutes is a good first step. And we have to say that Unicorns of Love played their cards really well, and I think they're gonna continue.
Yeah, they're going to look for the kill here as the Haymaker goes out, does get a lot of damage, and that's actually a great trade, gets 1 double buffs, and the B emoji just to throw it out there. Great play there from the RoX top laner.
The addition of the emotes is probably the greatest thing that the Riot has ever done to professional League of Legends, except of course for adding the Zoe into the champion pool. Amazing champion, by the way, amazing. And yeah, RoX actually, I mean, actually not RoX, but Dreampool bites back. There was a dive that Unicorns of Love wanted to set up, and unfortunately you cannot say set up without saying set, and Dreampool plays it, well, I think as perfect as he could have. Trading a 1-for-0 in a 2v1 dive, this is pretty much the best thing you can hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is the kind of the power of the Haymaker, especially when you couple it with the Showstopper, is that you just got so many ways of keeping yourself alive and untargetable, and even just giving yourself a pseudo health bar with that shield. So I like the move there from Dreampoola, and I think that it's definitely something that RoX needed right now, because they were starting to fall really far behind. As I say that though, he needs to try and find himself away from this particular fight. Will not be caught out this time. But again, this is UOL being the proactive team. They're the ones that are looking for these fights. It's not RoX on the other side.
I mean, you should be, right? When you have the advantage, you should be looking for ways to, let's say, extend the gold lead and actually get more, especially when you have the champions that can force engages. I mean, Corki pretty much relies on his package to be able to force stuff, but Varus just needs his ulti, and as I said, lethality Varus has a very early power spike where he can basically burst down pretty much anyone. Pretty much anyone from the enemy team, because there's not so many tanks, there's not so many like armor items, maybe except for the Nautilus. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much the Nautilus, and that's about it. The top lane turret will fall here, so we can see Flatty looking to try and get something out of that particular play, but unfortunately he is very much by himself. His teammates a little bit too far behind. That is another turret going down in favor of UOL. They re-establish their almost 3,000 gold lead and continue to look to try and get these more advantages on top of them. And let's have a look at this bot lane play again, because it just looked like it was just an overestimation of damage that they had available to them.
I think they forgot about the Senna ulti, which kind of played a big part in this. It didn't even look like they were even close to killing Dreampool, because he had like half of his HP left. But still, it's something that you have to pay attention to, because it's a global ulti that gives shield to the teammates. But we're gonna talk about it later.
Horn comes in, they catch the Nautilus out, they use the package as well, and they're going to be able to force the flash out of Lexi. Now the fight really ensues. It's going to be Lexi, first one to fall. Dragon has started unintentionally, be it that, but it's going to be third Dragon putting UOL on soul point. And this is a very strong game from the side of the Unicorn.
Once again, they force a fight when the objective is there, and they can win the fight because they have also all the cooldowns and the Corki package. They get one kill. One kill is enough to get the numbers advantage, and then you straight up turn to the objective. Unicorns of Love have 3 elemental drakes and a gold lead. This is something that it's kind of hard to come back from, because I mean, this is the snowball we were talking about in terms of like today's meta. You lose the objectives, you lose the towers, you lose the drakes, and then suddenly you're in a situation where it's 20 minutes in, the Nasher is up, and you have to contest every single drake for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, and you'd swear it was September as there's Earth, Wind, and Fire here for UOL, looking to try and clean up this game. We're coming up to just about 6 more minutes into their average game time, so we're looking at crunch time for UOL, and they're in perfect control. The gold lead isn't insurmountable, but they've got the pressure pretty much around the map.
Actually, I want to point out the Corki build. Did you ever see something like that? Essence River plus Manamune?
Normally, I would say you go towards the Triforce. This looks to me like he's going for that full crit, burst someone down with 2 auto attacks. I have seen it in solo queue. It's not something that I have seen recommended, but it's definitely something that does exist.
Okay, I mean, existing in solo queue is one thing, because there's a lot of things going on in solo queue. Let's say, especially if you dig down, you know, deep down enough.
There's always something. There's always something there.
Yeah, there's always something that can surprise you, that can basically fight off the laws of logic and common sense. But usually on the esports scene and the competitive, we see only like the best builds, only the best champions, right? And it feels weird that you skip the Corki Triforce Power Spike, because he actually does really well with Sheen, and this is basically one of the reasons you want to have the Triforce on him, because Sheen is so good. You get so much burst.
Yeah, if you get a lot of bursts, as I said, I think it is just mainly a setup of they want him to be as powerful as he can be, just 1-2-shotting the Senna or even just the Lee Sin or the Azir. I don't know if I don't know if it's the correct build. Actually, I know it's not the correct build, but it is just what he's decided to not do. And unfortunately, my stream has gone down, so I'm going to have to rely on you to be my eyes for the moment.
Oh, jeez. Can you restart it, please?
I am trying right now, so you're going to have to take over as the eyes, and you'll have to keep our beautiful listeners up to date, because I am blind as a bat right now.
Okie dokie. Oh, you know what I can do? I can use the share screen from Discord. Wait a second.
I seem to have it back as well, but yeah, go for share screen. It might be a good backup plan just in case. I seem to be back, as UOL seem to be posturing around this Baron. Is that correct?
I mean, not exactly. Right now we see. Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, they're on the top side of the river right now, setting up some vision, putting control wards everywhere and in the Nasher pit. And we have to remember that even though they don't have the hyper carry Varus and they don't have the more classic Corki build, I would still say that they can deal with this objective very, very easily. We see the engage, it's the Orn Horn, and then immediately followed up by the Chain of Corruption onto Lexus, and you can take it away.
I can take over from here, as nobody has died. We're going to see a full disengage coming out, and right now this looks like it could be another kind of objective fight win for the side of UOL. They've got the health bars, they've got the members, they can just take mid lane turret and then turn for Baron.
I mean, it wasn't exactly the mid lane turret, it was just the Azir's passive, but yeah, they can...
True. They can take that one away and look again for more and more advantages here. There's very little vision, if any at all, for the side of RoX, and here we go. Trundle Pillar goes down. It's a great setup for the Orn. That means the Nautilus is down. The showstopper to start it all off. That's a massive shield, able to keep him alive, and the Varus is dead. That's a 2-for-1 trade for RoX. They're turning this one around. Azir is untouched. The Lee Sin goes in. They're trying to trade it back, but it's another kill for the Azir. 3-for-2 in favor of RoX, and UOL just getting a little too antsy.
Yeah, I feel like they could have played this fight a bit better. I'm not sure that Unicorns of Love wanted to start that fight immediately at this particular moment because they had cooldowns on all of their key ultimates. No Ornhorn, no Chain of Corruption, and I would say that you normally want to wait it out. I feel like I don't know, they overstayed their welcome in a way, because yes, you want to make the opponent's face check when you go for the vision in the river, but shouldn't you wait for your key cooldowns in order to be able to actually fight them off?
Oh, and we're going to have to stop that replay and come straight back in. Chains of Corruption landed down on top of the set, and he will go down. That's a quick trade, but this is Soul Dragon coming up now. You cannot let them have this, RoX. You need to fight. You need to look for this, but they just can't. They're not in position. 4 wasn't there in time, and now you've got a Mountain Soul for UOL.
Now you got the Mountain Soul, and it's gonna translate into Baron immediately after, because still Dreampule is not there, and also he doesn't have the TP, so he cannot join the fight if it's gonna break out next to the Nasher pit. We see the TP coming in from Flotty, but it's still gonna be a 5v4, and Nomans has the package.
Has the package available. Tamkench going to use his ultimate to get in the backside of this one. There's the Ornhorn. There's the package. They're just burning Flatty down. He flashes in, gets the Emperor's Divide. It is 4, his first one to fall. Senna picks up Corki as well as the fight just ensues. It, unfortunately for RoX fans, is going to be UOL fighting. Fear their horns. They get themselves 2 quick kills and going to turn straight onto that Baron.
Is there any chance that RoX can try to make something happen here? I feel like no, there is no jungler, it's just a Dreampool and he's all alone. I mean, not exactly all alone, Lexus is there, but it's 2v4. Even though they're gonna take some time, you know, killing this Nasher. They don't have the exact setup for the Nasher.
They're going to jump in. Showstopper jumps straight out. The Devourer comes out. They're going to try and keep Gadget alive, but there's just too much damage here. The set doing very well, though. They will eventually take him down, but the Varus has been killed, and the Baron has been stopped. The re-engage. Hook. Dredgeline back in. Flash away. They're looking to try and keep this one going. Senna has got some good items on top of her. She will land the root. Still looking to slow everyone down, but overall, the job has been done by RoX. They got the Baron stalled. That's all they wanted to happen.
Yeah, at least Unicorns of Love are not getting the Nasher, and I feel like this is the best thing that you can hope for in this particular situation. I mean, RoX were losing. I mean, they lost the last fight, even though they kind of started to slowly, you know. I feel like they dragged Unicorns of Love a bit down, because the last 2 fights were not as clear in terms of Unicorns of Love domination. We're gonna see it once again here, and I feel like even though it started really well for Unicorns of Love, and they have already the Mountain Soul and everything, I feel like they kind of didn't play as well as they could have, because Nomans went in all alone, and he basically got bursted down by 3 people.
Yeah, he got bursted down straight away. You can see the idea from the side of Nomans as well, trying to get himself into a position where he could Valkyrie in, put down the damage, and then Valkyrie out again. Wasn't really, unfortunately, there for him, and he goes down. And that's a kind of a big issue right now for the side of UOL. You only have 2 damage sources, so one of them goes down, you're left with the Varus, which makes it so easy for the set to just jump in and really focus them down. So you have to pick and choose your battles.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about the easiness of the setup to utilize from Unicorns of Love. It's the front-to-back teamfight, but to utilize that, you actually have to front-to-back teamfight. You have to have your carries in the backside and your front line in the front side, not Nomans going full-on suicide mission, jumping into 3 people. I know you have the package, and I know you have the ability to disengage with the Valkyrie straight afterwards, but you have to be careful, especially when they have like Azir and Lee Sin. They can just insect you out, and then you are in a more vulnerable position.
Here we go, Baron started. They're going to see the Ornhorn come out as well. They will crash up on the Nautilus and the Senna, but he is being burnt down very, very quickly. TP coming in for the set. That's a great Emperor's Divide, though, to separate the team. The Azir is dead. Now they need to try and keep this Varus alive. They're trying so desperately to take him down, and they will eventually take him off this map, as eventually overall there's still not really a huge amount of damage available for the side of RoX, but they've got so many good health bars for them. They actually need to be very, very careful. For almost going down, does keep himself alive barely, ends up being a 3-for-1 overall, and RoX are still in this game.
They're definitely in this game, and I feel like they're starting to come back, and this is very impressive from their side, because I would say that they should have had like a miracle to win this team fight, and that miracle was their mid laner. I feel like this was a great Emperor's Divide that actually separated and resetted the fight. So the only thing here now is not to let Ananasic steal the Nashor with his smite, and then they're good to go.
It's a slow Baron, but it's a sure but sure take. They're going to have it down to 2,000 HP. Now they've got vision of it. They need to know exactly when to go in, but he's being kicked away. RoX pick himself up the Baron, but the fight now ensues. There's Valkyrie over the side with the package as Corki has now joined the fight. They will just give up the set here to try and get the Baron out to as many people as possible. They will end up picking up one. They might be able to pick up Lexus on the backside, but he's a hooky man, and he'll be able to Spider-Man his way out of that one. Pretty sure he's still going to fall, but not too long after everything else has been done. And overall, RoX still pretty damn happy with that result.
I mean, you should be happy with that result, especially when you're losing, right? And, I mean, RoX were losing up until this point. Right now, they're more or less equal in terms of gold. At 30 minutes, 1k gold difference is pretty much non-existent. And, I mean, trading 2 kills for the Baron buff and the ability to stall the game. Because Unicorns of Love, if they were the ones to get the Baron buff for themselves, I feel like they would go for the maybe not the final push, but at least the push that gets them 2 sides of the map, let's say bot lane and mid lane inhibitors, and then they can apply more pressure from there. But right now, RoX at least stopped that, and now the next item on the menu is the Elder Drake that we're gonna have in 20 seconds.
Elder Drake gonna be spawning. You need to get this if you're UOL. You need to put this game to bed. Overall, RoX have looked very good and looked great in the team fights, but UOL had all the momentum, had all the damage at the start. We now see the Infinity Edge finished up for Corki. He's finished up his crit build. He's at 75%, I'm pretty sure, at this stage. So he's going to be critting like an absolute truck, pretty much on every other auto attack. And right now, UOL need to try and find that fight. They need to look for a better engage than they've had so far, because it's all been RoX after the first, pretty much the first pick. Oh, as I say that, here we go. Ornhorn comes out. They're going to look for the Nautilus. He does buffer the ultimate very nicely with his dredge line. And that's a key ultimate down now.
Yeah, this is very important, but this doesn't mean that Unicorns of Love need to stop the pressure. They just need to wait out the cooldowns of their engaging ultimates of the Ornn and the Varus. And I don't feel like RoX can just go up on for their engage, and maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they're looking for the dredge line, lands onto the Tam Kent. Santos backs himself out of this one here, and you can see the poke starting to really hurt here from Gadget, putting himself into a nice position to be able to put out as much DPS as possible. 4 can't be going for those little trades unless he knows exactly where everyone is. Big rocket lands onto the backside though. And there could possibly be a reset coming in for this AD carry as we look to try and say what happens in the next few minutes. They need mana, they need health bars. This is just A-ramming it up. We're in NA, ladies and gentlemen. They look for it. There's the flash away. There's the dredge line coming in. They're going to miss it off it, but there's the ultimate. Now the showstopper is going to be the start of the shot. And they go in straight on top of everybody. The golden ghost on the back end of this as nobody has died, but so many health bars have gone down. Nobody goes off, but the health bars are definitely in favor of UOL.
I mean, they win the trade in terms of HP. Does it mean that they can just go for the dragon and try to force the other fight? Because Unicorns of Love boss is going to have the Ornhorn once again, and this means that they can just start the dragon and wait for the enemy teams to come and actually try to get the dragon or force the fight. Oh, 4 gets killed!
Oh, that's the crit we were talking about. Going with this Corki build, you get that crit damage, which means it's almost a guaranteed 500 damage kill coming in, and no jungler means there's no real hope for the side of RoX. They need to hope for a mistake. I don't think they can go for this. They have to back away.
They have to back away, and that means that the Elder Dragon is now for Unicorns of Love, and this is basically the finishing touch of the game, right? This buff was designed to be the finishing blow for the enemy team. Even if you cannot like win the fight in a clear 5v5 with the dragon buff, with the Elder Dragon buff, you can just, I mean, imagine Varus hitting his WQ on Senna. I feel like he's gonna kill her straight up with the Baron buff, I mean with the dragon buff.
Yeah, the Elder Drake was designed to end the game. You will get that execute damage going off if you get them down to below 20% HP. And right now, RoX, they need to look for something. They're going to lose a lot more than just this inhibitor if they're not careful. They are going to back away, just go for these inhibitors. UOL happy enough with knowing they've cracked the base. So
Yeah, they cracked the base, but this is not the most important of the lanes. I mean, technically it is, but at the same time it's not, and I'll try to explain why. Because since in order to like fight for map control, you need to keep the priority in the mid lane. The fact that you have extra pressure in the mid lane, it doesn't really help you when the enemy team just stacks S5 and deals with the empowered minions. I feel like when it comes to like actually getting an inhibitor, the side lane inhibitors are way cooler because it's hard to keep the pressure in the mid and at the same time be able to deal with the super minions. We see the replay of this fight. There was an amazing Azir ulti. I think he hit like 4 people, and this was basically the winning move for that fight for the team RoX. And as you said, it's because this is the classic team fight setup where they have two carries and 3 tanks. Once carries are dead, there's pretty much nothing Unicorns of Love can do.
So, for the side of RoX, they need to wait out the last of this Elder Drake, which should be just expiring very, very soon, if it's not expired already. They now have got a Baron on the field in about 25 seconds. This is where they need to get a kill here. They know where 4 is. They see exactly where he is on that ward, so they know exactly where he would be going should he look for a flank. But right now, they're looking a little bit more control. It's a lot longer than their usual game times, but they're still looking strong.
They are still looking strong, and their Elder Dragon is going to expire in like 5 seconds, exactly when the Nashor is going to spawn. And I don't feel like RoX are very, very willing to face check the enemy team. Ooh, and maybe I'm wrong.
Ooh, Dredgeline hits, but he gets the Valkyrie out. That is incredibly important. There's a little bit of a mini kind of equalizer, and the Nautilus forced to flash away. They will get the knock-up as well onto the top laner. Another great Azir ultimate, though, means that 3 people are caught up in the backside, but the Corki is still alive. Their Corki is still putting out damage. He eventually will fall. And now you're looking at a side of RoX with their low health bars, but they've got their carries, they've got their Azir, they've still got the damage. It's a 3-for-1 in favor of RoX as they look to continue to stretch out this game.
It's a 3-for-1 when the Baron is up, and so it means that RoX are gonna have another Baron for themselves. That was a very good fight, and once again, Fluty turns the tables around just by hitting the... I mean, I wanted to say great, but that was more than great. A very important ultimate.
A game-saving ultimate. Now with the Baron going down, it is going to be UOL who have to reset off of this. I don't really know if they can fight this. That being said, though, Santos feels that he could maybe look for a little bit of a cheeky steal. Actually, now they've got Gadget, they've got damage. Maybe they just look to try and see if they go for something. Not quite. That was definitely stealable, but RoX do take it.
That was very close. You shouldn't underestimate the damage that the Lethality Varus can put out with his Q, especially when he has the W. I think this fight started off kind of poorly for Unicorns of Love because basically Nomon's lost like a third of his HP and he lost the package trying to disengage from the Nautilus hook, and this is not something that you want to see when you play Corki. I mean, when you play with Corki. Corki who just gets hit with the with the Q from Nautilus, it means that he immediately should disengage, and even though he killed Azir, Azir managed to kill him with his dying breath. He sent the last order to the soldier to kill the Corki, and without the Corki, I don't think Unicorns of Love have a consistent source of damage, you know, like basically they don't have a hyper carry. This is the drawback of the Lethality Varus because he doesn't scale that well when it comes to the elongating team fights.
Oh, look at that damage, though, from the Corki. Just able to put in so much work, and that's possibly going to be able to force back RoX from this mid lane push. They have got themselves a side lane pusher, though, in this set, and they should be able to get themselves at least a tower. But we're getting to that stage in the game where the gold is dead even. The gold doesn't even matter. People are starting to cap out items. Full build Varus. You're looking at a near full build Corki as well. This is starting to get really scary towards those kind of big team fights, and if anything's to kind of, be said about it, this Azir has been the trump card for the side of RoX.
Definitely, especially his ultis. I don't think they would have won those 2 fights without the ultis that he had. He had like 3 or 4 man ultis twice in a row, and by the way, those were not just some people. It wasn't like Ornn and Tom Kench. Those were also carries, but we're gonna have to talk about it a bit later because the fight breaks out in the middle.
Play
and then
breaks
the
out in
top
the middle,
side.
but it's all a bait and switch as a mid lane gets one, top lane gets another. They're going to try and jump onto this Azir, who gets himself over the wall, still has flash available to him, so still relatively safe, but Elder Drake is spawning and 4 is on the top side. I don't know if UOL want to give up their inhibitor just yet, but they're kind of a split call.
You kind of have to answer the set in the top side because, I mean, it's a set with the Blade of the Ruin King and the Black Cleaver, so he does quite a lot of damage to turrets and inhibitors, of course, and also that's the Baron buff helping him. And immediately, RoX, they start the Elder Dragon. This is going to be quite dicey, I would say.
Here we go, Baron, or sorry, Elder Drake down. There's the Shurima Shuffle coming in, and another great Emperor's Divide. The Elder Drake is still proc. The Trundle is now dead. They're looking to try and trade this one back. They're not able to take it with the Piercing Arrow. It looks like it's going to be RoX taking the Elder Drake and taking this game. A fantastic team fight presence there from the mid laner into the Azir, and he has done fantastic work for them all game long. Again, with another fantastic goal.
Yep, and it feels like this is the game changer. This is the moment where RoX actually come out ahead in this game for the first time, probably. I mean, we're not counting like the very early on where Anasik died in the first blood or something like that. This is the Elder Dragon team that is pushing the mid lane inhibitor right now. They got the inhibitor and they also got and they also have the Elder Dragon buff for like 2 minutes more. I think, wait, it's 2 minutes 30 seconds, right? The Elder buff. Yes, so they're gonna have it for at least a minute and a half, and this is the time where the next Baron is gonna spawn. And right now, the only win condition for Unicorns of Love to actually pull back into this game is gonna be winning a team fight, which doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah, well, again, they cannot go for the end just yet because of the damage you see from the Corki. And the Corki is the linchpin of this entire UOL composition. He is the reason why they're able to stay kind of relevant without them kind of pushing in too far, too fast. But great ultimate there from the Azir. Keep himself alive as well. They have got damage on the side of UOL, but it's just not sticking.
Yeah, it doesn't, and especially we have to remember that before the last fight next to the Elder Dragon, that was Corki dying in the top lane. He died to a simple gank from Lee Sin, basically. 4 joined his top laner to have a little 2v1 versus Corki. They killed him, which is basically, as you said, this is the center of their composition. If Corki dies in the side lane, that immediately means that Unicorns of Love are losing pressure all over the map because they cannot win a team fight. It's basically like the setups are more or less comparable because it's all about their mid laners, all about them. If Flatty dies, RoX are gonna crumble. If no one dies, Unicorns of Love are gonna crumble. And right now we're in a situation where it's like 40 minutes into the game, so item breakpoints don't matter anymore because all the carries have all the items that they would want. Even like the top laners have almost full builds. So basically it all comes down to the execution. And so far, Flatty has been pretty much on point with his execution.
Yeah, completely agree. And overall, UOL, they have got the dragons, they've gotten the early leads, but they're now falling a little bit behind, and we can see the power of this Azir just absolutely ripping through this front line of the Ornn and the Tahm Kench. Makes it so difficult for the side of UOL to make anything happen. However, take a step back, they still have 4 Drakes. They still pretty much got rid of all of the Elder Drake buff now. 10 seconds till Baron. This is when you have to fight. This feels like it should be the final fight for both of these teams as they look to try and take this first game. Baron has not been started, but it has spawned. And now, if they can go for something, Banshee's Veils are available for certain people. They need to be popped before you can go for anywhere.
You have the Varus for that, and on the other side you have the setup for that, because you definitely want to get rid of those pesky Banshees before you want to start an engage, because otherwise the first ability will be blocked, and the first ability means a lot. RoX are probably looking for another miracle engage, but we're gonna see what's gonna happen to Lexus.
Lexus got flashed away, but they're not gonna be able to. But now Achi, he's in the middle of nowhere. There's no follow-up. They get the Corki Azir trade again. Now you gotta see Gadget. He's gotta be the one doing the damage right now. He is completely untouched on this backside, but his tanks are just not staying up. He's not able to get the auto attacks off, and unfortunately for him, he is going to be almost certainly one of the last people standing for his team. Flash away there by the jungler.
and Gadget just doesn't have the damage to put down onto these tanks. We talked about how we wanted this virus to be played. This is the drawback from the lethality virus. He can't do the DPS.
He can't do the DPS, and Corki once again dies the first. This is not something that should happen in the front-to-back team fight. I don't know what happened there because I didn't actually see who got who bursted down the Corki, but I feel like that was a rather whoa!
I take it back. There's the lethality virus coming into play. The Baron playing off the assist, and those piercing arrows were just decimating RoX.
Wow, that was unexpected. I'm so thankful that it takes some time for my brain to process thoughts in English, because I wanted to say like, yeah, but what can Varus do in this moment? Basically nothing. Basically nothing. He fell off. I mean, this is lethality Varus. What do you expect? And then we see like arrow after arrow. First of all, Shiganari dies, then Lexus dies. Lexus actually dies from the comet, which makes it even more embarrassing.
There's a lot of damage there, especially when you're just getting shredded your magic resistance away by that Baron, and that means that straight away UOL, they respawn, they get themselves the Baron, 36 seconds, they've got enough time to recall, reset, get themselves back onto the map, and then Elder Drake will be the next fight. It's Baron number 3, Elder Drake number 2, and this game is going on for an absolute age. The builds, as you said, are pretty much done at this stage.
Yeah, the builds are done, and right now the Baron is also done. And the Elder Dragon is gonna be up in like 15 seconds. What is this, like our third or fourth? No, I mean...
Second Elder Drake, third Baron.
I feel like that's the third Elder, because I think every team had one at least. Oh, Gadget gets engaged on.
Gadget gets engaged on. The carries are separated here before. Can't really get much work done. He's actually being caught out a little bit, and he goes into GA. The Ornn is down. They haven't got their big, beefy front line right now, as the side of RoX are looking to try and take down UOL. There's huge damage though onto the Azir, and he is dead. The President is dead. They need to now back away. They cannot fight this Elder, and Baron buff is still available for the side of UOL.
The President is dead and was killed by another President. Right now, Nomans actually puts on his carry pants and kills Azir just with a straight up auto attack, which was really great. Oh, Gadget gets hooked!
Drives line by Gadget, but they are going to be able to trade it back because he still had his flash, and the Dragon respawns. They're going to be able to take out the jungler. It's 2 kills for the side of UOL, 3 for the Corki as they look for more and more. They're trying to get themselves the 4th and final kill to secure the ace, and they will be able to take him down. Just one more auto attack. Tamken steals the Quadra, and they're going to be able to run it up mid and end this game.
Finally, Unicorns of Love actually pull off the fight that they wanted. Nomans was not touched during this entire fight. He managed to get the kill on Azir, so that means that RoX are playing without their hyper carry, and Unicorns of Love still have a hyper carry of their own. And now, I mean, the inhibitor falls off really quickly. It's just the Azir versus the world. Can he make a miracle? Unfortunately, no.
Oh, the one ultimate he fluffs, unfortunately, means that he is going down. Sad bees all around. The Nexus turrets fall. The Nexus is sure to follow as well, and UOL will take back their 1-0 lead.
Yes, I feel a bit better now. I have to say that was an amazing game from Unicorns of Love, especially from Nomans and. Oh, actually, from all of them, because Gadget, even though he was kind of useless in the mid-game team fights, I mean, after mid-game, like at the beginning of the late game, but he showed up when the team needed him the most, right? When they lost the fight, the enemy team is doing Baron, and it feels like all hope is lost, and then there are snipes coming in from Gadget, and in the last fight, I mean, that was Nomans actually doing what Corki does best, just autoing everyone to death, and I mean, he managed to do so very, very efficiently, and the trade was not in RoX's favor that time, because yes, they did kill Ornn in the beginning of that exchange, but unfortunately, Azir got caught by Corki, which was not that was not necessary at all. Why would you try to go for Corki if you can just go for the Elder Dragon?
Yeah, absolutely. But UOL do take the win. They take themselves the lead in the series. And right now, they've got to be feeling good. They've got to be feeling great. This was a very, very close game, but they proved that they are the better team, regardless of the composition. And I still want to give an honorable mention to Flatty. Flatty was a fantastic Azir in pretty much all of these mid-game to late-game fights. He just, unfortunately, the reason why I suppose they won that last game was because they were able to swap out the kind of the engaged opportunities. Flatley had to use his ultimate and all of his soldiers onto that tanky front line of UOL, whereas No Man's, excuse me. No Man's and Gadget were just on the backside, completely untouched, which meant that when they eventually got jumped onto, they still had their summoners, they still had everything they had, and they were able to turn this one around. So overall, UOL definitely picking the fight at the best, kind of moments to really look for the win.
Yeah, but we still can criticize Unicorns of Love a bit for the 2 or 3 fights they had in the very beginning of the late game, because they had a very commanding lead in the very beginning of the game. They took down all the dragons, they got the soul, they got the first turrets and everything, but then suddenly they lost a couple of fights just because of a bad positioning. And I know that when you have a Tom Cage, he can kind of forgive one of the carries once, but the cooldown on W is kind of sufficient. You cannot do it twice in a row, and especially when you're bunched up like that, and Azir can just throw you away 3 or 4 people. There were let me remember, 3 ultimates. Azir had 3 ultis where he just decimated the enemy team just by striking 3 or 4 people, and most of the time carries were there. So I mean, Unicorns, you gotta do better than this.
Yeah, they've got to do better, but we have seen them do better, and we know they can. For RoX, it is still very encouraging as well, because they are the team that have been able to push Unicorns of Love that far, I suppose, and that is a positive thing going into the rest of this series. They pushed them to the limit that they possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for RoX, this game should not be disappointing at all, because they were losing for quite some time, and they managed to put up a fight. A very good one. I mean, they didn't have enough fuel to actually outlast Unicorns of Love in the hyper late game, but this is not something that we see very often, I would say. Especially considering the fact that the Dragon Soul is such an important buff because it lasts forever. So basically, I would say that RoX were winning team fights with a handicap. Because they had to deal with the Dragon Soul, and it's not just any Dragon Soul. That was a Mountain Soul with Mountain Dragons for guys like Ornn. Ornn is probably the best at stacking stuff like armor and magic resist. I don't think there is any other tank that can have those numbers that the Ornn has. And hyper late game also means that Ornn gets to upgrade his items, which immediately creates even more disparity in terms of gold, because they give a lot of stats. Each Ornn upgrade is I would say 1.3k gold in terms of just pure stats that it gives. And RoX were able to pull off a couple of good fights with all that disadvantage. So I would say that normally RoX should be quite proud of themselves, and I would say should be optimistic about the second game, because if they manage to have a cleaner early game, everything will be fine. And this game, they had a chance to have a clean early game, because Ananesic went for an invade where he shouldn't have, but then 4 basically repaid the debt, which is, not something that you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And going into the next game, we'll see exactly how they look for the adaptation, I suppose, into the next series. But we'll have to wait. We got a bit of a break. We got time. Let me see exactly how it goes.
Yeah, we're gonna take a short break, around let's say 5 minutes. We'll be back to with the next map. I would say. How do you say it in English correctly? Game?
The next game.
Yeah, okay. Next game. The next game in about 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We're still watching Unicorns of Love versus RoX.